The message arrived while I was prepping our anniversary dinner. His favorite steak, that fancy wine from our honeymoon, even the playlist we danced to at our wedding. I was lighting the candles when I saw his name pop up on my screen. You don't deserve a penny. I transferred it all yesterday. The papers are signed. Goodbye. He emptied our account and ghosted me like I was nothing. But here's the thing. I knew this day was coming. He just didn't know how ready I really was. I'm Rachel, 38 years old, and I own a floral shop called Petal and Thorn. It's a cozy, little space on Main Street where I spend my days arranging blooms, sipping chamomile tea, and listening to the quiet hum of customer stories. Flowers are more than just decorations. They speak when words fall short. Ethan never understood that. He was always chasing something bigger, a better job, a newer car, more status. We met when we were young and reckless, fell fast, and built a life that looked picture perfect on the outside. But cracks began to form years ago. He stopped noticing the small things, the way I added eucalyptus to his favorite bouquet, or how I always stayed late at the shop just to afford his latest obsession. The man I married faded, slowly replaced by someone colder, more transactional. It started with the late nights. Ethan claimed he was working overtime, trying to secure a promotion or fix the budget issues at his firm. But I knew something was off. I could smell her perfume on his shirts. Too sweet, too cheap, and nothing I'd ever wear. His texts grew shorter, his tone colder. The intimacy, once effortless, turned into small talk or silence. I tried to talk to him. I really did. Ethan, are we okay? I asked one night as he walked in past midnight. He shrugged off his coat and said, Don't start with the drama, Rachel. I'm exhausted. No hug, no eye contact. Just the sound of the microwave door slamming as he reheated the dinner I'd left out hours ago. That's when I stopped waiting up. Instead, I started watching. I didn't snoop at first. I wanted to believe he was just stressed. But when our joint credit card bill arrived, and I saw a $1,200 charge at a jewelry store I'd never heard of, dated 3 days before my birthday, a birthday he forgot, I knew. Then came the Uber receipts, hotel stays, dinner for two. One night at a spa resort 2 towns over, while I was home folding his laundry. He was cheating. That part hurt. But what made my stomach truly turn was the financial trail he left behind. I noticed strange withdrawals, small at first. Then, bigger. Then missing funds from our emergency savings. He was bleeding us dry, little by little. I confronted him once carefully. Hey, I said, pretending to be casual. Did you move some money out of the joint account? I'm having trouble balancing the books. He didn't flinch. Yeah, I had to cover a few things for work. I'll put it back. He never did, and I never asked again. Because that's when I stopped playing the fool. I started checking the accounts daily, printing statements, forwarding suspicious transactions to a private email I'd created for one reason: backup. I opened a second savings account in my name, a loan, something I should have done years ago, and started transferring tiny amounts of money from my shop's income. Just enough to go unnoticed. He was sloppy, overconfident, but I wasn't. The final confirmation came a week before our anniversary. I was cleaning out the drawer where we kept our tax records when I found a folder labeled legal. Inside were 2 things: a copy of divorce papers, dated and ready, and a draft of an email titled Final Goodbye. It was already written. I stood there staring at it, my hands trembling, my mouth dry. He was planning to blindside me, probably right after he transferred everything out of our accounts. But instead of falling apart, I set the papers down, walked into the kitchen, and poured myself a glass of wine. So this is how it ends, I thought. Not with a fight. Not even a conversation. Just a silent betrayal designed to leave me broken and broke. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just started planning. There's a certain power in silence. Ethan thought I was still clueless, that I was floating in our dying marriage like a daisy in a vase, unaware the water had long turned murky. But I wasn't wilting. I was calculating. The very next morning, I scheduled a consultation with a divorce attorney. I made up some excuse about needing to close the shop for inventory and met with Margot Little, a woman known around town for her steel-trap mind and zero tolerance for bull. She read through the paperwork I found, nodded once and said, "He's trying to erase you, but he's stupid enough to leave a trail." We started building a case, documenting financial misconduct, concealment of assets, and, yes, infidelity. Margot told me not to tip my hand, so I played the part of the oblivious, flower-picking wife just a little longer. At work, I kept smiling. I arranged bouquets for new brides, crafted sympathy wreaths for grieving families, and chatted with customers like everything was normal. But behind the register, I was scanning bank statements. On my lunch breaks, I was signing affidavits. And at night, when Ethan was working late, I was transferring every dollar from my business account into a secure personal one, far away from anything he could touch. I also got a forensic accountant involved, something Margot recommended. He traced over $40,000 of unexplained transactions over the past year. Luxury hotels, boutique clothing stores, even a few wire transfers to a Melissa J., a name I'd never heard but would soon become very familiar with. One by one, I gathered the pieces. I even installed a security camera in our living room, discreetly tucked behind the curtain rod, just in case he ever decided to say something careless or threatening. Turns out, I didn't need it for that. I caught a video of him on a FaceTime call with Melissa, sitting in our living room, laughing and saying, "Don't worry, babe. Once the papers go through, she's out and I'm in. She won't know what hit her." I saved that clip. Multiple copies, cloud backup, USB, external drive, all while still making his coffee every morning, still packing his gym bag, still pretending to plan our anniversary. He thought I was blind, but every time I handed him a mug or kissed his cheek goodbye, I was looking at a man who was going to lose everything and didn't even know it yet. And I wasn't alone anymore. Margot was brilliant. She helped me draft my own version of the divorce papers, with everything flipped. Proof of his infidelity included. Evidence of financial abuse attached. Asset protection and emergency support filed. We froze the joint account with a court order before he could drain it fully. We filed an injunction that required any major transfers be approved by both parties. And we put a flag on the house title. He wouldn't be able to sell it or refinance it behind my back. Make sure to subscribe if you've ever had to smile through betrayal. Because trust me, the revenge is better when you serve it in silence. By the time our anniversary rolled around, everything was in place. The papers were filed. My papers. The accounts were secured. The evidence was archived, labeled, and ready. All that was left was to wait for him to make his move. The morning of our anniversary, I woke up early. I brewed Ethan's favorite dark roast, set it beside a fresh cinnamon scone from his favorite bakery, and then took a long, deliberate sip of my own coffee. As I watched the final locks click into place. That day I wasn't just his wife. I was the storm he never saw coming. Before he left for a meeting, I smiled sweetly and handed him his gym bag. The same one I had emptied the night before. He didn't even notice. "Happy anniversary," I said, voice light as air. He blinked, confused for half a second, then smiled. "Right, you too." Right. As soon as the door closed, I moved fast. I logged into our shared financial app and confirmed the transfer Ethan thought he made had been reversed, flagged and frozen. The court's emergency injunction had kicked in 48 hours prior. Every transaction now needed dual approval. He didn't know yet. But he would soon. Then I changed the locks. Not just the front door, the garage keypad, the alarm codes, the smart thermostat password, everything. He'd left me thinking I'd be crying on the kitchen floor, but I was slicing lemons for tea and humming to my playlist. I also sent the video of his FaceTime call with Melissa to my lawyer. She smiled and said, "Oh, honey, this is gold." We filed it as supporting evidence in our case, a cherry on top of a betrayal sundae. At the shop, I took one last look at the joint business license. It was still in both our names. Ethan had insisted on it years ago. For tax purposes. That ended too. I had the paperwork signed, notarized, and filed that morning. The shop was now 100% mine. Everything was set. That afternoon, the final strike came from my lawyer. A courier delivered the new divorce papers to his office. Not the ones he drafted behind my back. Mine. I imagined him opening the envelope, seeing the legal letterhead, the attached exhibits, receipts, bank statements, the FaceTime video. I imagined him realizing everything he'd tried to do to me had already been undone and turned back on him. And then, finally, I prepped the last move, the emotional dagger. I placed an envelope on his desk at home. Inside was a note. Just a few words, written by hand. "You underestimated me. That was your last mistake. Rachel." By the time he got the message he sent me, "You don't deserve a penny. I transferred it all yesterday. The papers are signed. Goodbye." I had already shut down every exit. I let him think he was first. He had no idea he was already last. The court hearing was set for a Monday morning. Ethan walked into the courthouse with that same smug confidence he always wore, like he was strolling into a boardroom he already owned. He was dressed in a tailored gray suit, smirking, flanked by some fresh-faced lawyer who looked like she'd just passed the bar. He hadn't seen me yet. I walked in alone, in a deep green wrap dress, hair pinned back, calm and composed. Margot joined me moments later with our organized mountain of evidence, each file labeled, time-stamped, and stacked like petals in a bouquet of revenge. Ethan finally saw me. His smirk faded. The judge asked if there was any chance of reconciliation. Ethan actually chuckled. "Your Honor, I've already filed the papers. She's aware. Everything's been finalized on my end." Margot stood. "Your Honor, the respondent's finalization is not only premature, it's been legally reversed." She handed the judge our updated file. "We're submitting a full motion for financial misconduct, intentional asset concealment, and spousal abandonment. Evidence is tabbed in red, screenshots of infidelity in blue." The courtroom went dead silent as the judge flipped through the folder. Ethan started shifting in his seat. "Wait, what is this? What the hell is this?" The judge didn't look up. "Mr. Langford, these are very serious allegations, and frankly, from what I'm seeing so far, they appear well substantiated." That's when Margot stood again and dropped the cherry on top. "We also have video evidence," she said calmly. "A FaceTime recording of Mr. Langford confirming his intentions to evict and financially sabotage his wife while engaging in a relationship with another woman, Melissa J." The color drained from Ethan's face. He turned to his lawyer, whispering furiously. She fumbled with the files, clearly unprepared. He looked at me, wide-eyed for the first time in years. I didn't blink. I didn't flinch. I just folded my hands in my lap and waited. The judge cleared his throat. "Given the severity of these claims and the strength of the evidence, I'm moving this into a formal trial for asset redistribution and damages. Mr. Langford, until further notice, you are not permitted to access any joint accounts, business assets, or the marital residence." Ethan exploded. "What? This is insane. She's lying. She set me up." The judge raised a hand. "Sir, sit down. One more outburst and you'll be held in contempt." I watched as my husband, the man who thought he could discard me like a dried-up bouquet, melted into desperation. His world so carefully constructed to box me out, was collapsing in real time. And I hadn't even said a word. If you've ever wished for karma to do her thing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started. Outside the courtroom, Ethan caught up to me in the hallway. "Rachel, wait, please. You don't have to do this. I messed up, okay? But we can talk. We can figure something out." I looked him square in the eye. "Oh, we'll talk," I said, voice calm. "In court, with witnesses." He blinked, speechless. And for the first time in our marriage, he was the one with nothing left to say. Ethan's fall didn't come all at once. It came in slow, humiliating waves. First, the court froze his assets. The fancy car he leased in both our names, repossessed. The rental property he'd secretly acquired with money siphoned from our savings, under investigation. His lawyer tried to settle, but Margot held firm. We weren't done yet. Then came the professional fallout. Turns out, using company funds to entertain clients at spa resorts with a woman named Melissa wasn't exactly HR approved. Someone, not me, of course, anonymously forwarded the screenshots from court to his firm's ethics board. Within a week, Ethan was placed on indefinite leave. 2 weeks later, his LinkedIn read, "Open to work." Melissa? She didn't last long. Apparently, she wasn't thrilled when his credit cards got declined, and he had to move into a short-term rental with no central air. She posted a scathing tweet. "When your sugar daddy turns out to be broke and bitter, 0010, do not recommend." I'll admit, I laughed. Even his own family turned cold. His sister, who once idolized him, called to apologize to me. "I don't know what's happened to him," she said. "But you didn't deserve any of this." No, I didn't. Ethan tried to reach out one more time, a pitiful email with the subject, "Maybe we should talk." I didn't open it. There was nothing left to say. After the dust settled, I walked back into Petal and Thorn with a new lease. On life. Literally and figuratively. I renovated the front of the shop, added a cozy reading nook by the window, and started offering healing bouquet workshops for women going through heartbreak. It turns out, flowers really do have a way of bringing people back to life, including me. The community rallied behind me in ways I never expected. Customers brought me coffee, left encouraging notes at the register, and posted glowing reviews online. One even wrote, "Rachel helped me choose roses when my world was falling apart. Now she's thriving and so am I." Sales doubled within 6 months. I also started consulting for other women-owned businesses, helping them protect their assets, build silent safety nets, and never be caught off guard like I almost was. What started as a survival tactic became a mission. Margot and I stayed close. She even joked once, "If this florist thing ever bores you, I've got a desk for you at my firm." I smiled, but no, this was my soil, my roots. Ethan became a cautionary tale. People whispered about what he did, how he fell, how his once perfect image withered so fast. But me? I bloomed. Looking back now, I can honestly say, he did me a favor. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it shook me to my core. But in trying to destroy me, Ethan gave me the greatest gift of all, the chance to rebuild a life on my own terms. I learned that strength doesn't always look like shouting or slamming doors. Sometimes it's a woman quietly opening her own bank account. Sometimes it's saving the receipts and waiting. And sometimes it's smiling while handing over a cup of coffee to the man who has no idea his entire house of cards is about to collapse. I don't wish him pain. I don't even wish him regret. What I wish, what I live for now, is freedom, peace, and the power to bloom without apology. So if you're listening to this, thinking she sounds like me, let me tell you something I wish someone had told me sooner. You are allowed to protect yourself. You are allowed to plan your exit. And you are allowed to win. Quietly, brilliantly, and completely. Because in the end, success is the best revenge.